Okay, so we're going to go ahead and mute everyone just so that we don't have any background noise, um, and then go ahead and get started. So good afternoon, everyone. I guess it could still be morning if we have folks joining us from Hawaii, but I think that's afternoon for most of us. I'm Sherry Steinig. I'm the Special Projects Director with Generations United, and we're so excited to see so many people here today and really the response to this the opportunity for this conversation. I'm joined by my colleague, Emily Patrick. So Emily, you want to wave? So Emily, who will be sharing some information also. So for those of you who may be new to Generations United, we're the national membership and advocacy organization for intergenerational practices. The mission of Generations United is to improve the lives of children, youth, and older people through intergenerational collaboration, public policies, and programs for the enduring benefit of all. We were founded over 30 years ago by leading aging and children's organizations to advocate for policies and practices stimulating cooperation and collaboration among generations. We work to elevate the importance and value of intergenerational connections at all times, and particularly now when we are all physically isolated from one another. So I want to thank you for joining us for this first in a series of conversations that we'll be hosting over the next few weeks as we come together to figure out how best to support and build intergenerational connections during these times. I know that we at Generations United have gotten to know Zoom a lot better over the past week, but we are still learning. And as I mentioned before, this is by far the largest Zoom gathering we've tried to host. So I'm sure there's going to be some new challenges, and we really appreciate your patience as we try to figure this out and figure out how best to do these in the future. So I'm going to take a couple of minutes just to share some Zoom tips that we've found helpful in some of our conversations that we've had. So you all are muted right now. Because we have so many people, it would be great if you can sort of stay muted until there's sort of a time when we will try to maybe have some actual voices and conversations happening. And then again, I think most of you have joined by video if you can, and we do appreciate that. Like we like to be able to see everyone's faces. The feature of Zoom that we're going to try to use the most today is the chat feature. So there is a chat button that if you click on it, it should open up a chat panel. And once you see it, you can either chat to everyone, or you could select just to chat to Emily or me or anyone else that's in the meeting right now. So we'd love to see you just test out the chat feature. So if you can right now, just type your name, where you're joining from, and then we can sort of just practice using the chat button. So if you have questions, comments, or any experiences that you want to share, it'd be great to post that in chat. And we're also happy for folks to, if someone posts a question and we're still talking about another topic and you have an answer or response, go ahead and reply all in there to share the chat. This is exciting. People from all over. So excited. Everyone's here together. And then also down there, there's also the raise your hand function, sort of to ask a question. So if you could use that when we get into the discussion point, and then we'll unmute folks. We have that control from our back end so that you could then ask or respond to a question. As I mentioned before, we're recording the meeting. Let me just double check to make sure it's recording. Yes, it's recording. And then we will email out that link as soon as it processes and we get that information. All right, so we are off. I'm going to turn it over to Emily now.
Great, thank you, Sherry, and good afternoon, everyone. I am reporting live from my basement today, so I need to apologize in advance for any dog barking or toddler singing that might pop up while I'm talking today. And I know many of you are in a similar boat these days, as we've all had to be really flexible and adapt to our current circumstances. But despite all that's happening outside the comfort of our own walls today, it is just really inspiring to see all of you and to know that the intergenerational community is responding with such a passion to maintain ties across generations during this challenging time. And in fact, I think many of us would agree it's more important now than it ever has been that we, especially as we're facing this need for physical distancing. So we have two goals today. One is just to check in with each of you and share some ways that Generations United and other organizations are making sure that we're staying connected as a field in this time. And then the second is to share what we've been hearing from practitioners around the country and learn your ideas for how we can work creatively to maintain the intergenerational connections that we all know are so critical, especially in this time. So we will be asking for you to share your ideas and questions via the chat feature in Zoom, but we will also have some time to break out into smaller groups for discussion near the end of the hour. So for those of you who, like me, are longing for some social connections outside of your own home or organization these days, we hope this fills a special need for you as well. I also want to give you a heads up that we'll be sending around a follow-up survey after this call to find out how we can best address your needs moving forward. So be thinking about that a bit as we're meeting. We're here to support you. We want to make sure we're providing the most helpful resources for you in the field. So we're really eager and listening, wanting to hear what would be most helpful for you in this time. So first, let's start with a check-in. We really want to know, how is everyone doing? I know our friend Rachel Cohen from Linkages, Colorado is on the call or was registered for the call. And during the virtual Linkages meeting that Sherry participated in last week, Rachel asked everyone to check in with the fist to 5 scale, which is a really great activity. We wanted to do that again now, just to take some time to check in on one another. Your fist represents the low end of the scale, that you wished you were still in bed. We all know and have those days. And then 5 fingers means you're feeling great, you're energized and excited to take on the day. And of course, there's 1, 2, 3, and 4 are all the feelings that come in between. So right now, I just want anyone who's joined by video to please share how you're feeling with a show of hands. And I'm going to hold here for just a few moments so you folks can take a look around and see how others are feeling. Great. And I think if you haven't seen all the faces on your screen, you can click through and check in on one another. Great, thank you for that and participating in that. Just like those that we engage and serve in our communities, it is so important that we continue to check in on one another throughout all of this. And the intergenerational community has always been one of the best parts of working in this field, as many of you know. You're always willing to share your successes and your challenges. And we at Generations United, we're really committed to trying our best to facilitate those connections. So I just wanted to start by sharing a couple of things that we're doing specifically in response to the current COVID-19 crisis. The first is through Facebook. For a few years now, we have hosted a private Facebook group called Intergenerational Connections. Anyone who is interested in learning and sharing about intergenerational programs is invited to join. We have just a couple of rules: be kind and curious, no hate speech or bullying, no promotions or spam, and respect everyone's privacy. And there have already been some great conversations in the past several days between intergenerational practitioners in response to COVID-19. So if you're active on Facebook, I definitely encourage you to check it out and engage with your peers there. I also recognize not everyone uses Facebook, so we are very happy to explore other options. If you have ideas you want to share, please make note of those if anything comes to mind. The second thing that we'll continue to utilize is Zoom. And as Sherry said earlier, we are basically building the Zoom plane as we are flying it. We had nearly 350 people register for the meeting today, which is far more than we anticipated. We also know that it's not easy to have a conversation with 350 people over this platform or any platform for that matter. So we will continue to host these large gatherings where we can share what we learn about intergenerational programs. We can hear presentations about different models of distance programs, but we can also facilitate small breakouts on this Zoom platform where part of our time could be talking with a smaller group of people with specific interest areas such as intergenerational shared sites, school-based programs, local governments, senior living providers, just to name a few examples. We could also just host smaller gatherings. So again, we will be sending out a survey after this call. Please be thinking and let us know what would best serve your needs at this time, and we will definitely look into it. We're also going to continue issuing our weekly e-newsletter Generations This Week, where we share program ideas, resources, news, and funding announcements for the intergenerational field. If you haven't already, you can sign up by visiting our website, gu.org, and click on the Get Involved button on the top right. We will also have a schedule for future Zoom meetings there, so if you're not signed up to receive Generations This Week, it is a great resource. It goes straight to your inbox, and I highly recommend it. And speaking of our website, we also created a landing page on Generations United's website to share responses and resources specifically related to COVID-19. We'll also be posting future Zoom meetings there. The URL is there on your screen, gu.org/COVID-19, or you can find it in the top of Generations United's website pretty easily. And for any of you who are on the call who may specifically be interested in grand families or families in which grandparents and other relatives are raising children, we have developed some resources specifically for grand families that are also on that same page. And then I also want to note that our wonderful friends from Gen to Gen, who are also on the call, are hosting virtual meetings as well. There's one tomorrow and another one this Friday. There are some details there on your screen, but you can find more info and register for those online at generationtogeneration.org. And finally, I imagine there are plenty of other resources and opportunities that we've missed. So please let us hear from you. Let us know if there are other opportunities, whether they're locally, regionally, or nationally. We are happy to help promote these efforts. We truly believe that the more that we're all talking about this, the better it is for everyone. So with that, I'm going to pause for any questions or comments that may have come through chat before handing it back over to Sherry.
I haven't seen any questions or comments in chat, but we would like to welcome, if there are platforms, I know that my son has mentioned that one of his teachers is going to be using something called Discord, which is another type of, I guess, platform for having groups and conversations. So we would welcome other ideas. We are, we feel that we're often at the front line of using some of these technologies, but we know that they're kind of moving quicker than us, and we would be welcome to support either sharing a community that someone else has started, or maybe creating one in another platform. Okay.
Great. Thank you, Sherry. So I'm going to hand it back over to Sherry to talk a little bit about what we're hearing from practitioners and how programs are responding in this crisis.
And right there's an image of our homepage with the arrow pointing to where we've added our COVID-19 response. Okay, so there are many intergenerational programs that already operate at a distance, and there's much that we can learn from those program models. And then we've also been hearing from a number of people that are adapting their programs and activities in response to COVID-19. So I pulled together somewhat a rather jumbled list of ideas from what we've learned from you and other practitioners over the past week, what we've heard from some media stories, and then what we've just know exist in some of our own experiences and resources that could easily be modified or adapted for intergenerational connections. So kind of the first bucket that I was throwing things into, and this was very much kind of throwing things into a bucket, was the idea of pen pal and pen pal type programs where you're connecting people at a distance anyway. Most of those often have some type of points during the process where people can get together, but we know folks can't get together now. So we've heard of programs that are making videos. So they're having children create videos, emailing them to activity directors. Activity directors are able to share them with their residents, the older adults in their communities. And vice versa, trying to have the adults also make videos and then being able to send them back to the children. So again, that's a facilitated program. A number of these are programs that are facilitated and need some sort of staff to sort of help with that interaction. We know that they're sharing artwork and music. Jody Schumann from Ebenezer Ridges, which is a shared site in Burns, Minnesota, shared with us that when I spoke with her at the end of last week, their child care center was still open. They have separate entrances for the adults and the children so that the children can still come in, but they were having the classrooms create special projects that they were then giving to the activity directors to share with the older adults to brighten their day. We've also heard about similar programs with music where they're having the kids sing so that they're able to still sort of experience some of the liveliness that children can bring to an environment. Writing letters and sending cards. So the Sharing Teens and Elders project, STEP project, they have started a program where they are having young people make cards with general messages of hope inside of them. So decorating cards, messages like "hang in there, thinking of you, we miss you, we care," and then putting those in envelopes, unsealed envelopes. They're collecting them and then distributing them either through volunteers, through Meals on Wheels, to staff at senior living facilities, who can then sort of address them and give them to specific people who may be isolated. So it's really, my daughter's Girl Scout troop did a similar project for supporting the troops overseas, where you sort of create these cards, you leave them unsealed, and then you have a chance to address them and give them out to people to brighten their days. Digital storytelling and oral history programs. These programs are often conducted in person, but could easily be adapted, well, maybe not so easily, they could be adapted using computers or telephone, recording interviews and conversations, collecting stories from older adults and young people, as well as oral histories. Kind of the next bucket is sort of a helping out type of bucket. We've shared a number of really wonderful and powerful stories over social media over the past week or so of young people stepping up to do grocery shopping, run errands for older adults and their neighbors. We'll continue to share those stories as they appear in the media, and you can follow us on Twitter, which is at Gens United, or Generations United Facebook page. We just search Generations United in Facebook. That's different than our Intergenerational Connections page. This is the general Generations United page, where we share these and other stories. We also have been hearing about sort of the idea of yard cleanup, yard maintenance, with spring hitting some parts of the country. I hear that it's been pretty cold in other parts of the country and snowy in some parts of the country. Older adults may need help with yard work or outside home maintenance. It's a great opportunity for kids who may be out of school or remote learning, adults who are working from home, to help out their neighbors. So we've heard of folks that'll just stick a note they know that there's an older neighbor, stick a note on there saying, we're happy to come and, rake out the leaves or do some work around your yard. Here's my phone number. Text me what you want to do. We'll take care of it. As well as I've even seen posts on our neighborhood group of people willing to say, seniors in high school or high school students saying willing to come and help out. I live in Colorado. Last week we got a foot of snow, so there were some posts around helping shovel. So there were some shoveling requests that came out. Another idea is just the idea of projects that folks haven't had time for. So that might be something like working on the family tree or digitizing photos. In a personal note, my cousin recently called my grandparents and said, I have some extra time. Those 40 photo albums that you have on the bookshelf, do you want me to start scanning them in and digitizing them? So my grandfather left them on the box outside and he came and picked them up. I don't know how long it's going to take him to do it, but God bless him, he's volunteered to do it, and then he's going to make discs and our hard drives to share with all the cousins, so we all have those great family photos. Virtual tutoring and mentoring, we've heard of programs that are actually, a few of them that are actually moving to a different virtual platform for their tutoring and mentoring. Now, these are established volunteer programs, so the relationship has been established, the adult and the young person are connected. They've already gone through appropriate background checks, there's parental permissions, and they are working with families around access. But using Skype, FaceTime, phone calls, really just trying to find ways to maintain those support systems for kids while they're out of school and why they can't be connected. So again, really only a possibility for select programs at this point. Something that we haven't heard anyone doing yet, and maybe it'll be something we'll do with the Generations United podcast, but the idea of this being a really good opportunity to capture and share the stories and experiences of younger and older people during this pandemic, to really and find a way, a platform like a podcast. Anyone can create a podcast. We happen to have one at Generations United, or even a blog that's just sharing and highlighting those personal stories that we're not always getting in the media, although we have been getting a lot of positive stories of intergenerational interaction. So virtual reading concept ideas and programs. The idea of a virtual book club where members of different generations read the same book, paste for the reading level of participants, and then connect via some type of supervised email or chat to discuss what they read. And over 20 years ago, when I was running intergenerational programs in Seattle, we actually did this exact type of model. We did a virtual book group over email, and it was a school-based program where we were working with a class of third graders and a nearby senior living community. And the participants, we did it two different ways. We'd either have the whole class and the whole group of volunteers read the same book, or we'd have pairs or small groups reading the same book, and we'd maybe have 10 different books that would be circulated. And then the children would email their teacher, and the teacher would then remove any private information, and then either email them to the activity director, or when we were doing it, printing them out, and then she would hand deliver them. But there's ways that we can sort of, and then at the other end, you would do the same type of process, the reverse process. So a way of doing group work and group communication. But again, it would depend on a teacher who is still in contact with her students. They're doing some form of remote learning or some type of work, or even looking to the future great program. We've heard of some people that are recording the older adults reading stories that they're able to share with teachers to get to their students. So sort of that idea that we can still kind of do some of, like, see people's faces, hear people's voices, and even connect through those types of work. And then we also have heard about an app called Caribou that some of you may know about and have heard, that lets children up to the age 7 have engaging reading experiences with grandparents and other trusted friends when they can't be in the room together. So it has games, activities, coloring sheets, a number of different activities. It's usually a paid product, but they've recently made the app free during the pandemic. So it's Caribou. I guess I didn't write it. It's like CARIBU is how it's working. And we can send out the links, and I can actually add it to this presentation. Some other great programs that we're hearing folks get started, these ideas of telephone and text check-ins. We know that many of you are already doing this with your volunteers and participants, checking in with them, but trying to find ways for existing programs to either get permission from guardians or caregivers, or if you have adult participants, getting their permission to share phone numbers and ways to connect. I know that it's often a challenge to get that, but there might be an extra step to sort of get some of those permissions to make that happen. And then a number of great, like, online gatherings and activities that we've seen happen. And I'm going to hop over to the next slide here to share some of the things that we've learned about. That Keros Alive is doing a daily swing 10-minute dance party via Facebook Live. It's 4 p.m. Eastern time every day this week. And I participated and watched the one yesterday, and it was fantastic. A lot of energy, and it just kind of fun to swing around, telling people to swing around their living room for 10 minutes. So when you get off this call, you can head over to Facebook, sign up to go look for Keros, and participate in a 10-minute intergenerational dance party. We also know that our partners at Senior Planet are producing just a ton of free virtual events. Most of them are directed towards older adults, but I don't think they're requiring. I think they would be open to anyone who sort of becomes a free member of Senior Planet. They're doing regular lunch and learn sessions, all this virtual, some ideas around exploring tech classes. They're having one coming up, which is show and tell with your pet. There was another one that's best video games for older adults. And my favorite is that they're doing a talent show. So it's either share your talent or just watch other people appreciate other folks' talents. Again, creative ways of using their platform. They also have a really fantastic guide for older adults that are stuck at home. It starts with tips on internet access and internet service providers who offer discount services for older adults. So kind of step one, you have to have the internet and ways to do that. It also has a number of just great online resources for accessing entertainment and education. So movies, books, information around like museums that have virtual exhibits, and as well as services around groceries, help getting prescriptions, meditation. So just a real wealth of information that could be helpful to the folks who work, or just there was a couple things on there that I was unaware of. Wanted to share that DeRote also regularly operates a University Without Walls program, which offers hundreds of classes available over the telephone on a wide range of topics of interest to older adults. So their catalog of courses is available on their website. And again, they're usually small groups, so folks need to register so that there's an opportunity for discussion, but that's a service that can be accessed any time of the year, but again, remotely. Silver Kite, one of our award winners at our conference last year, they're offering online intergenerational and then a new program that we just learned about called The Best Day of My Life So Far, and there's a website there. They actually have a secure portal to collect notes that you can write online, and then they will deliver them to isolated older adults. So it's similar to the program I was talking to that STEP has, but this one's just done in a virtual setting. So that's their website for that. And then again, just lots of organizations now still need help, and there's opportunities for virtual volunteering. We know that Volunteer Match and Create the Good both have a lot, and Volunteer Match right on the top of their page says, you're looking to help out right now during virtually for COVID-19. There's a thing that clicks to and takes you to volunteer opportunities. And then let's see if I can turn one more thing. The last resource that I wanted to share before we can move into sort of our QA discussion, idea sharing, is that a few years ago, we developed a report with Dr. Matt Kaplan at Penn State using technology to connect the generations toolkit. So there's actually, there's a report, and then there's a companion piece that profiles all the technology programs that were featured in the report. So that's the link to access both of those. You can download both of them from that page, which just has a whole realm of technology-based programs that might be inspirational or useful during this time. So with that, we're going to open it up to share some of the discussion and Q&A that we've heard so far. I know that I got some messages. I don't know if you had gotten any messages, Emily.
It doesn't look like I got any direct messages here, so they may be coming to you.
Okay. So it's interesting. So I heard from one person that said there's another platform called Uchi, UCHI, which is a free app that makes conversations easier, a Q&A based platform. So that's something, we'll collect all of these ideas and make sure that we put them in some sort of document or share them with you. We also heard that the Motion Picture and Television Fund, they have a robust greeting program, which they've discontinued due to the possibility of contaminated paper. So they're now sending digital greetings. So we have heard, I've heard from two different communities, one that they had discontinued allowing any paper into their community, and another that was allowing it, but they were, people weren't, you had to deliver it to a member of staff who would come out and pick it up. So I think that those, again, are, those are going to be evolving kind of rules and regulations or best practices that we're hearing from folks, but I appreciate that people are still sort of, again, thinking of creative ways around that. I'll just look through here again. We have someone else mentioned that they,
sorry, Sherry, I just saw a question just came through. Do you have any ideas or resources for families with limited access to computers or internet?
So if you, so we've heard some information, and we are collecting that information also on our Grand Families fact sheet. So there's some information about access to technology there. A lot of it we've pulled from what Senior Planet is sharing around that. I think Comcast, Spectrum, and Verizon now all have discounted programs for that are for families or older adults. So they've kind of opened up who is available. And I think we heard that Comcast is waiving fees for 60 days for it was new account, but that information is there. The access to technology, we'd have to go double check to see if we mentioned anything in that fact sheet. I don't recall off the top of my head, but we know that Emily and I were actually right before this call talking about that, and knowing that it's hard if you don't have that access and you're used to going to the library to get on a computer and the libraries are closed, or using the Wi-Fi at Starbucks and Starbucks is closed. So there's ideas around how to do it. I think that's a great point, and we should try to pull some of those resources that I'm sure there's resources out there, and find out how people can access them. Yeah, another person mentioned that some of the older adults they work with are afraid of receiving mail right now. So that they've had to put a hold on a pen pal project that they were doing. I'm wondering if anyone else has any ideas what they're doing other than digitizing. Is there any ways that folks could maybe address some of those concerns by just wiping down the mail before? I mean, even if it's not mailed, if it's hand delivered, wiping down something, putting on people's doorsteps. I think that's a constantly changing. If we can't go digital and people are concerned about receiving mail, I think that's a real struggle. Yep. Oh, someone else just mentioned that they run an intergenerational music class with families and non-familial grandfriends. They had a Zoom class with their families this week. Yeah, they can't do it again until their grandfriends are able to congregate in the same room. So I think we had also heard from other programs that it's hard to get groups together to maintain that 6 feet distance between individuals in some of their spaces. So here's what they responded in the meantime. They're doing the following. They're sending our attention to activity director to display families are creating videos to send to the activity director for her to share with the residents. All the families and this person are gathering on Zoom to do a musical meetup specific for the grandfriends, and then she'll send it to the activity director for her to share later. Let's see.
It looks like someone just shared through the chat feature. I don't know if others are following along the streaming chats that are coming in, but some are sharing with others some links to examples of things that they're doing, including a music class called Music Together Generations, and a link that they to that program, and it looks like they use the Zoom platform.
Yeah. Someone shared that the local Comcast has a program called Internet Essentials. I think that's a program. It's $9.95 a month, so they do offer some discounted internet. See what else. Yep. I can see. I'm trying to see the ones. I'm just trying to get to the ones that just went to me, so that I can make sure I get that information out to folks. Okay, so yeah, so there's the music. I think there was another question. Where was I? I scrolled by. I saw someone had mentioned I saw a comment, and so I'm not going to be able to remember it verbatim, but there was some information about how would you protect the privacy of people online. And I think that one of the questions that we did receive in advance, and I would really love to hear if folks have examples of that. Let me find it. They said, we know that protecting children and older adults on the internet is very important, and there are several digital platforms out there that claim to offer ways for people to connect safely. Does anyone have any recommendations for safe platforms for online connections? I think one of the benefits of Zoom, if you're doing it in a facilitated way with a staff person, is that there isn't, you can have your name show, you can set it up so that names aren't showing, and that you still can have area, you can still have interaction if people have access to that. I know that the project that I did when I was working on it is that, the emails would come in and the teacher just would just, it was an electronic thing. She just delete the kid's email address. I mean, again, a lot of schools nowadays have private emails that students can't email outside of the district. I know my kid's school district is that way. So the email that they use for school, they can't send anything to me. They can just send it to their teachers. So there are some of those protections, and then it becomes the responsibility of the teacher to do a little bit of legwork to manage that and share that off. So it becomes just sort of there's a little bit of editing that needs to be done. Again, I spoke with someone the other day who was doing a program with college-age students and was saying, they're adults, so they can make their own decision about whether they want to share a phone number or an email address with one of the older adults that they were partnering with, and that it becomes sort of their choice. It's not a requirement, but something if they want to continue to have conversations or text messages. Again, it depends on folks having access to those.
And thank you, Matt Kaplan from Penn State, who's on the call, had just shared with everybody that it sounds like 4-H has some Zoom etiquette protections, such as no recording of large group online gatherings. So there may be some additional resources from 4-H that are available.
That's great. Other questions or comments, or I mean, we are happy to also open the mic to other folks who have something that they want to share. I'm trying to see if there's any hands up. Did you see any hands up, Emily?
I haven't seen any, but message if we're not seeing them.
Yeah, and we really would love to hear what you're doing, what you've tried. I mean, even if you want to talk about it or type it in chat. We think that it's just, I think we're all, like Emily said, a lot of this is that we're kind of building the plane as we're flying it. And there's a number of programs that have worked remotely and digitally that we can hopefully learn from and what they're doing. So, okay, so yeah, there's some information about the Uchi app that sounds similar to some programs that my kids have used through school, where there's a code. There's one called, I think, a group band is one of them, and Remind is another. And I feel like every class they have set up a different one where you have to be invited or have to have the code to be part of it. So you end up being an approved person to participate in that. Yeah, that sounds good. Were there any other ideas that people wanted to share, or questions, or like things that are, because I think that part of what we were trying to do with this is sort of have an opportunity for those of you that have things that are working or tried and didn't work, or maybe have ways that you've pivoted some of your programming, to be able to share those ideas as well. So maybe if there aren't other questions, maybe what we'll do is move into sort of our breakout groups. So let's see. I'm having this odd issue with two screens at home, and I'm changing the slides on one screen and talking to you all on the other. So we're going to just do like some short breakouts to have smaller conversations for folks around. And so just some ideas, sharing your name, where you're from, if you're doing programs, what you're doing, and then really just talk about what you want to talk about. We're not monitoring any of this, but if there are just some discussion questions that we put up there about, some ideas that you have for maintaining or building connections, challenges you're facing, or just something else that's on your mind. So we're going to try to get these into smaller groups so that we're not, okay.
While Sherry's setting that up, I just want to call out Emily Abel, who just put a comment in the chat feature that she's a service coordinator in Indiana. She's using her programming funds to purchase a deck of cards still in their wrapper, Sudoku and other puzzle books, coloring sheets and crayons, and putting those items in plastic bags and hanging them on the doors of residents so they have some activities to do. So that's a great idea for pivoting your work, Emily.
Great. So I'm going to send folks so accept your invite to go into your randomly assigned breakout group. And then you'll get a warning when the breakout group's ending to come back all together. So let's see how this works. So you should have received an invitation and you can select to join them. Okay.
If you happen to not see the prompt on your screen, you should see in the bottom row at the bottom of your screen a tab that says Breakout Rooms, and it'll tell you which breakout room you were assigned to so that you could join that if you're not seeing it pop up.
Okay. Yeah, I'm not sure if I can resend invitations. I'm looking at that right now.
You should see a tab at the bottom of your screen that says Breakout Rooms, or a button that says Breakout Rooms. And when you click that, it says you have been assigned to a breakout room, and then you can join it. That's what it's saying on my screen.
Okay. So we're going to do this for about 10 minutes. So if anyone's not in a breakout room, it's just going to be quiet for 10 minutes. No one's required to do this. So, and it may be people have stepped away from their computer.
Mm-hmm.
I was getting texts from some folks that I knew who were unable to get into the call. So
I saw an email.
Yeah, so it
as well.
Oh, did it? Yeah, my emails are closed. I didn't see that. Right.
I just admitted.
That's
I just saw a new person just joined, Sharon Benfield. We are currently in a breakout discussion mode here, so that's why it might be quiet for the next 10 minutes or so. And Sherry, did you say we are unable to invite people to join who may have just joined the meeting?
Yeah, I'm looking to see. Oh, not joined. I can drop her into a room. All right. See if we can. You should have gotten an invite to join one of the breakout rooms. So it also does say that I can broadcast a message to all rooms. So I'll broadcast a message when we're about to close.
Great.
Oh, and people may be coming back, maybe dropping out themselves if
So I'm adding another person from the waiting room. Sherry, do you see that on your screen too? Carolyn Hensey.
Yeah, up at the top. I do.
I'll
Yep,
admit her, and then if you could drop her into a room.
will do. And again, for I guess everyone who's joined, if you've gotten into a room, we're sorry for the issues that we faced. We thought we had expanded our Zoom capacity today, but apparently it still locked us out at 100 participants.
So Sherry, do you know if they're able to see the slide while they're in the breakout room? The discussion
I
questions?
don't. Yeah, I don't. It's been a long time since I've been in a breakout room, so I don't really remember I also probably should have paused recording, but I know I would forget to turn it back on. So, when
I may pop into one.
Okay.
How much time is left in there? Do you know?
4 more minutes.
Okay, I'll just join just to see how it's going.
Yes, this would definitely be a time for someone watching the recording to just fast forward for this 10-minute break that we're doing for people to have conversations. You're muted.
I'm wondering if participants were muted for these conversations.
Oh, were they? Did someone say something?
No, when I went in there, there was nobody talking, and they all had the mute symbol next to their.
Should I go ahead and unmute all?
Yeah.
Okay.
Hey, Sherry.
Hi.
I bounced around to another room that had a vibrant conversation going, so it must have just been the room.
Okay. Okay, good. And I did send that message out to everyone.
Yeah, I saw that pop up.
Oh, okay. Okay, good. So maybe I'll do a 2-minute warning.
Yeah, I don't know if it's just because I'm a host, but it looks like I'm able to, once I'm in a room, I can look at who's in each room and select which one to go to.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
So what Adam was going to do is to set up the Zoom webinar feature for us so that we won't have this problem the next time. We can set it up as a webinar and then we can be at capacity. I'm really disappointed that that add-on that they said should fix our problem did not fix our problem.
Yeah, that's a bummer.
Okay.
Was that like a one-time use thing?
No, it was a monthly fee that you added onto your regular package. You have these little extras that you can, a la carte extras that you can add on. So yeah, so I'm not sure. Yeah, not sure why that didn't work.
I wonder if it has something to do that we scheduled or created the meeting before that add-on. I don't know.
Yeah, it said like need more space, buy this add-on.
Yeah.
So
Oh, so it
should have
shouldn't
worked. Yeah. Yeah, it should have. We knew the webinar was going to be different because you have to set it up as a webinar from the beginning. But technology, it's great when it works. All right. So I am going to close all the rooms. I think we're at about 10-minute time. Maybe I'll wait a couple more seconds.
Okay.
Okay. It gives them. It says all rooms will close in a minute, so they have a minute to wrap up. So. Okay, we should have everyone coming back into the main meeting room in about 1 second. Okay. Go.
There we go.
Oh my God.
Bye.
Hi.
Bye. Bye.
Bye.
Welcome back, everyone.
Thank you.
Good. I'm going to mute everyone again just so we can just be mindful of background noise. Okay, great. I see some folks are maybe still, I'm going to go ahead and close this breakout room thing. I think some folks still may be coming back. So as Emily mentioned earlier, one of the things that we are going to do is send out a follow-up survey, and we'd really love feedback on, and we will have some questions around like breakout rooms, smaller conversations, larger conversations, presentations from programs that are doing some programming already. This is really just sort of our first kind of foray into this type of work, trying to collect the information we can, get some information out there, and obviously learn from all of you. But we do really want to know if there's specific topics that we could actually have, arrange for a presenter to talk about those, and what maybe some of the practices that they've done. I know that one of the questions that came up that I saw is sort of how are people handling situations where students under 18 are doing phone check-ins or text check-ins with older adults. We know this is something that a lot of people want to do. If people are doing that, what are the policies, the procedures that are put in place to make that happen? Are they having to do it from a parent's phone or a guardian's phone or something like that? I mean, I think there's always, I think the one thing I've learned at my 20 years at Generations United is that an intergenerational practitioner has figured out a way to maintain the safety of their participants and also like do what they want to do. So we just hear all those examples all the time. So I know that there's someone out there has figured that out. I'm trying to see if there's anything. Oh, great. So it looked like good. As Emily said, it looks like we had some feedback that people enjoyed the breakouts. We set that function up last night. through our Zoom account, and we're learning a lot about our Zoom account and what it can and can't do. So I'm glad that worked, and that's definitely something that we'd be happy to arrange again in the future. Let me see. Okay, so I know that we are getting low on time here. We've almost filled an hour already. Seems like it's just flown by for me because I really enjoyed being here with you all today. So just a couple of next steps, and I've already shared some of this. Keep sharing. So feel free to email me or Emily, and the next slide has our contact information in it, or just gu@gu.org. That goes to Mary, our office assistant, and she sends it out to us. We're a small team, so there's a lot of communication amongst us. With what you're doing, what you can't do, challenges that you're facing, ideas that you'd like to try, anything else on your mind, we will, again, as I said, we'll share this recording, and we're really working to compile other resources and information that you share that we find that we can get out to everyone. There'll be news that we find, there'll be notifications in Generations This Week. We'll be putting something up, this recording, and whatever other resources we can find, copy of this PowerPoint with some edits from what you've shared today, up on our COVID-19 page as well. I mentioned you'll receive the link to the survey, so we really appreciate any feedback that you have, topics you want to cover, just other opportunities for breakout conversations. I think that in any situation, I think the folks doing intergenerational work also often feel isolated because you may be the only person in your organization doing it, or you may be the only person in your town doing it, or the only person that you know. So we really want to try to build connections and have those types of relationships, just have conversations with folks, however we can facilitate those so that we aren't feeling so alone when we have to be apart from each other. And then number 3 of our steps, based on your feedback, we'll be scheduling more of these. We can do, again, as these gatherings, as webinars. If we have, again, if you're on Facebook and you'd be interested, join the Intergenerational Connections. It's, we approve who joins. So it's just, so there's some, but I mean, we really just want to make sure that you look like you're a real person and not a bot or anything like that. So love to have folks join there as well to connect. And then again, share ideas of other platforms that might be great for us as a network to connect with each other. I know we also need to be thinking about things of ways to bringing older adults and children and youth together, but we do also want to support this group and how we can better serve the people that we care about. So I think my last slide here, if I can get it to work. So there again, feel free to email us, and the GU website and the Facebook group is there again. And like I said, we do recognize that not everyone uses Facebook. So if there is something else that people would be more comfortable with, or another way we can think about building those connections, we'd be very happy to do that. So I just want to thank everyone for joining us today. We really appreciate your patience as we navigate this technology. And we know it's a really challenging time for all of us, and we're grateful for all that you're doing to support children, youth, and older adults in your community. And we also want you to know that we at Generations United are here to support you as best as we can during this time, and really during all time. So we look forward to talking with you soon, and we hope you all will be well, and we'll talk with you next time. So thank you. Thanks, everyone.